So welcome back. Thank you for being here tonight. As I had put in the newsletter, the theme for tonight is emptiness. And I titled it, Emptiness is Not Nothing. Right? So emptiness in Buddhism, the topic of emptiness is thrown around a lot. And people, I think it's one of the most misunderstood teachings in Buddhism, as I hear it described by some people. It started with, now I was raised in the Theravada tradition. Emptiness is not spoken about in the Theravada tradition. So I had never heard about it before until people started coming to the Sangha and asking me to speak on emptiness. And I knew that it was a Mahayana, which is a different sect of Buddhism, that it was a major theme there. So I started studying it to see what it was. It shows up in the Heart Sutra of the Mahayana tradition. And the Heart Sutra and the Lotus Sutra are some of the most famous teachings in the Mahayana tradition. And the Heart Sutra says all phenomena in their own being are empty. All phenomena in their own being are empty. And it originated with a Buddhist philosopher, Nagarjuna, I think his name was, who called the ultimate truth of worldly existence shunyata. Shunyata, some people say shunyata, some people say sunyata, but it's translated as emptiness. Right? So the ultimate truth of worldly existence is emptiness. Whoa, what does that mean? Right? It's pretty big words. And this 3rd century Indian Buddhist master Nagarjuna also taught that emptiness wrongly grasped is like picking up a poisonous snake by the wrong end. So, that's one of the Buddhist phrases. The Buddha talks a lot about grasping a poisonous snake correctly. If you don't, you're going to get bitten. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the misunderstanding of emptiness first, before I talk about the 2 ways that emptiness can be understood from a mindfulness and or Buddhist perspective. So this misunderstanding is with the people who believe that this emptiness, that reality is an illusion. It's all manufactured and it's not real. That everything that's happening right now, you're hearing me, but you're not really hearing me. You're seeing me, but you're not really seeing me. I don't exist. You don't exist. Nothing exists. So this is not true. And the one thing that I typically say to people is to walk out in front of a moving truck and see if you don't exist. If this is an illusion, it's a damn good one. Right? We feel things, we feel sensations, we hear sounds. We're designed in this vehicle, receptive vehicle, that brings in information and is creative. I don't know what this experience is, but it's happening. So this is not nothing. When you believe that this is all an illusion, this is not nothing, it can be very dangerous emotionally, mentally, to disconnect from reality in this way. You become emotionally detached, numb to your own feelings and the feelings of others. This is an illusion, so why should I care? Or some people do the really narcissistic view that I create everything, like we're not co-creating anything. Right? I am the sole creator of the universe. And that can be very dangerous as well, right? Because if we take on the superior, I am the creator of everything, or this detached, I am nothing and this is nothing, we're not present in reality with whatever is arising in each moment, right? Yeah. And we can we can lose our compassion, totally lose our connection to other people. I created you anyhow. I created you, I can make you go away. Goodbye. This is really unhealthy this is not realistic relating in the world. It certainly isn't compassionate. It's not grounded in reality, so that we're experiencing. And we close ourselves off when we create these manufactured, disconnected, detached, emotionally detached awarenesses. We lose our internal compass, right? Our feelings, our intuition, our being fully present with what's arising as our internal compass. It helps us, give us information, the flow of reality arising and passing and occurring. Yeah. And then a lot of people have the misunderstanding that we're only supposed to feel spacious, empty, quiet, disconnected. And if anything else happens, then something's wrong, right? There's this desire for emptiness and spaciousness and nothingness, and or there's everything is wrong. But if we were just if we were meant to just experience spaciousness and emptiness and nothingness, then why were we giving all these senses to sense, emotions and feelings and material realm? Why were we giving all the abilities to communicate and to touch and to experience one another in a really intimate and beautiful and yet painful way as well? So emptiness is not nothing. It's a very important teaching. Reality is not empty. Reality is. And as you noticed in the meditation, I was giving instruction to just sit in the middle of whatever's arising, whatever's passing, whatever's changing. That everything is here to be experienced now. For some reason, we're here. We have all of these abilities to perceive and receive and experience firsthand reality as it is now. And the key to our freedom is through being present with the ever-flowing change of experience. Right? So a lot of people, some people, first I'm going to talk about emptiness as a mode of perception, the way of looking at experience. Right? And it's a really helpful way of looking at experience. So with mindfulness, we're looking at experience as we're trying to see it clearly as it arises, as it changes, as it passes away, without adding anything to it, without taking anything away from it. It's a mode of perception of seeing things as they are, the raw data of physical and mental events. Right? But do we usually have the raw data of experience? No, because the mind is a projection machine, right? It has these memories. And so it tends to take reality, oh, yep, sound of a car going by, and then ignores the sound. Doesn't realize that sound of that car going by is different than any other sound of any other car going by before, including that very same car. Right? This mode of perception is being with all of our senses without this projection, without thought, without categorizing it as anything in particular. It's also not adding anything to it. For instance, right before I started the talk, there was a child, I think like a 6-year-old child lives next door. I wave to him when he's playing in the background or backyard every so often. But the family is not interacting. They're not interacting with neighbors. But he smiles and he says hello to me. But right before the talk started, he's screaming at the top of his lungs. Just really raw screaming, right? And I noticed aversion coming up. Like, great, I'm going to be giving a talk with a kid screaming bloody murder in the background. And I thought, well, go close your window. And I'm like, no, I like the fresh air of the window. So all of these thoughts and sensations, experiences are happening. And then I thought, I hope he's not in trouble. Maybe the kid's in trouble, but he has parents, he has people that live, they're like a whole big family that lives there. If he was in trouble, someone would have been able to help him. But then I noticed the mind fishing for reasons that he's doing it. Maybe he's frustrated. Maybe he's angry. Maybe he's playing with the dog. Maybe he's, maybe he's just losing it. He's coming in contact with testosterone, a really big surge right now or something. Who knows? But the truth is, I don't know why he was screaming, right? This mode of perception is emptiness. The facts were loud sound, kids screaming. That was it. Anything that I add to it may or may not be true. His screaming is empty of meaning. It's just loud screaming sounds, sensations. Does that make sense? So when we're practicing mindfulness, we see all of our thoughts, we see what we're adding to our experience. We're making up perceptions based on past things. If I had seen the kid, several times pitching huge fits in the past, I may have made up, oh, there he goes again, be a spoiled brat, he's pitching another huge fit. When that may not be the case, he may have stepped on a hornet's nest or something, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Is that we stop projecting all of the stuff based on our past experience. And or if we're projecting, we realize, oh, this is a projection. This may not be true. So we stop all these mind-made presuppositions that we usually add to experience, right? Then we start to see all of our stories and our worldviews that we fashion in order to explain our reality, explain the world we live in. We categorize people. We judge them. We put them into groups of good, bad, right, wrong, worthy, unworthy, certain races, this is what the human mind does. It creates division, and it contracts our reality. The minute it starts putting all of these labels and beliefs and projections onto reality, we contract the possibilities. Does that make sense? Right? When reality is so much more expansive than that. Of course, every person's having their experience. Of course, we want to be compassionate. But we have to see clearly what's happening without all of the crazy projections that are happening. Otherwise we're going to miss the boat. There's a famous quote I use often with the Buddha said, with our minds we create the world. This is what he was talking about. With our minds, we create a different reality than one that is actually existing right here, right now. And he was teaching us to keep coming to mindfully be with our bare experience of reality as it is without making up anything about it, right? Loud sound, unpleasant, ear hurting. That's a reality. But we make up not only all of reality, but all the other people and animals and trees and stories about everything. We also make up our own reality, right? We're our identity, we have certain genetic tendencies, but we aren't who we think we are. I say this often. We're just not. We're so much greater than who we think we are. So all this meaning that we make of reality doesn't exist. It's made up. It's what's fabricated. The meaning, right? Reality is empty without, we take away all of this stuff that we add to reality. It's pure empty reality. It's empty of any meaning, but it's full. It's full of experience, arising, changing, and passing. That doesn't mean that there's not wisdom to be had. We learn from our experience, and that's okay. but we want to still be present for anything that might be changing or different or not the way it was in the past. So emptiness can be a hindrance in our meditation practice, and that someone who meditates thinks that they're supposed to have an empty mind. So if the mind secretes thoughts, they think there's something wrong. They think that we're supposed to, you drop into this spacious awareness that's so pleasant, and then they think, oh, it needs to be like that all the time. And if it's not, then it's a problem. So then we're at war with our experience when it's not a certain way. It's not going to always be a certain way. Nothing is always, if you're mindful, you see that nothing's always a certain way, right? And then a lot of times when people are meditating, they'll drop into this spacious awareness where there's no meaning making. The mind is really quiet, and it's amazingly full of love and spaciousness and peacefulness. We're experiencing another dimension of our true nature, of who we are. And then people will make up, oh, I'm enlightened now. I no longer have to deal with all the foolishness of the human realm, right? And so they make up another belief about themselves. They add a new identity to themselves, a new condition that they think that they are. And then when some people are getting on their nerves, they're like, oh, no, I'm enlightened. This is not agitation. This is not frustration. This is all them. Right? So yeah, this emptiness can be a hindrance. Then we can form an aversion to anything that's not quiet, that's not stillness, that's not spacious. And then we're pushing different parts of our experience of being a human being away. That's unhealthy, right? So this practice is about, yeah, we want some stillness, and we want to have retreats and get away and create some balance to our mind. We don't always want to be in chaos. We need some stillness in our life, but we don't want to get to that place where we think everything needs to be that way, needs to be empty. In that, I have so many people who say, oh, I tried to meditate, but I couldn't do it. So I just quit because I couldn't empty my mind from thoughts. And I'm like, well, that's not, because they're talking about mindfulness. I'm like, that's not really mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware of our thoughts when they're arising and looking at our relationship to our thoughts and forming when we see a combative relationship where we're at war with our reality, we see how much pain that causes, right? And then we're like, oh, that's painful. I'm going to stop doing that. The mind stops all the wars. Not because we decide we need to be empty or because somebody told us it's a good thing. Mind naturally starts letting go of the wars when it sees the havoc its habit pattern is causing. Yeah. So the more and more we meditate and the more and more we experience our true nature, it's great. It's a gift. It's wonderful. But we don't want to just, the human mind tends to categorize things, and it tends to compartmentalize. Like, now I'm going to be in my spiritual world. I'm going to meditate and go into spacious, empty spaciousness. And now I'm going to go to work and be the good, diligent employee. And now I'm going to be the good cook or the good partner or whatever. But the truth is, we want to bring our practice in the spaciousness, the stillness that we cultivate, if we cultivate any, to our daily life, right? Yeah. But it comes through being real with our experience. If I'm sitting on the cushion and I'm really angry, it's not for me saying, oh, I shouldn't be angry. Oh gosh, something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. No, it's from, going to the anger. Oh, this is what's arising right now. It's causing contraction and pain. And yeah, so being real with our experience. And when we can touch our experience, like really intimately touch our experience without pushing it away, without pulling it to us, we form a connection to it. Through that connection, that intimate touching, the rawness of our bare experience, we naturally drop into and experience this spacious emptiness that exists and that's holding all experience, right? Even in the anger, there's this emptiness. So there's the emptiness of perception, right? And then there's the emptiness that's part of who we are, this natural state of reality. Emptiness from perception is we're not adding a bunch of stuff onto our reality. The emptiness is the spacious, loving, full space that we drop into every so often. But it's not empty. What is it empty of? It's empty of us. It's empty of all of our identifications. It's empty of the, the self. The Ronya is not here. Right? There is no Ronya. There's no orchestrator. There's no wizard in the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Right? I went on a retreat. I was for over a decade. I would still be going if it weren't for pandemic, but usually try to go to at least 1 month long retreat every year, sometimes 2 month long, a 2 month long. And one year I went and decided that my theme was going to be not self or no self. I didn't know how I was going to do this. How was it? So I went to an interview and I said, I'm here to experience the no self, the not self, which is the third characteristic of all phenomena, is empty of a self. Right? And the teacher said, well, I don't remember who it was, said, why don't you see if you can find yourself? I said, what do you mean? She said, find the maker of all your thoughts. Find the maker of reality. Find the self. And I was like, okay. So I sat there for at least a week looking for where everything originated from. Try to go to the very start of every sound, every experience. And I couldn't find the self. I kept searching. I couldn't find Ronya. I couldn't find this. All I found was emptiness. All I found was spaciousness. All I found was experience. All I found was sensations arising and passing away. Experience arising out of nowhere. Where did it come from? Where does this experience come from? All the causes, conditions, who knows? Causes and conditions arise and then it would go away. And then a new thing would be born and then die and born and die. And I realized that I wasn't orchestrating. There was no I. I couldn't find any I who was orchestrating reality. Thoughts come unbidden. We don't decide to think about a certain thing. It just comes in out of nowhere based on causes and conditions and habits. Right? So our freedom comes from seeing that we aren't the wizard and we're not in control. Right? But it's kind of a weird thing. The control, if there is any, I don't like to use the word control. What we can do is we can sit in the middle of all of this and go with the flow of reality. Okay, now it's like this. It's like a dance, right? This arises. How do I respond to this without, with acceptance and with love in a way that doesn't harm myself, doesn't harm others, What's a dance calling us to do each moment? What's this energy of coming to this energy? How does this energy want to respond? Right? And we can only do that when we're empty of all of the ego identifications, we're going to have some, that's fine. But notice when we're coming from them. Notice when we're not empty of a self, when self is really arising. Oh, self is really selfing right now. That's one of the notes that Joseph Goldstein teaches us. Oh, selfing. I'm selfing. Yeah. And the more that we do this, the more we see that dance is a co-creation. It's not a me creation. It's a co-creation. Your energy is meeting my energy. Your sounds are affecting my sounds. They're reverberating, we're vibrating, we're pulsating. The choices we make affect other people. We're not independent. Yeah, and that comes from just being present and dancing with reality. Thich Nhat Hanh calls it interbeing, that there is no permanent fixed identity, right? And this doesn't mean voidness, because there is something. There is a dance happening. You exist, I exist, we're hearing each other. We're dancing together, we're co-creating something here. So it's not empty, but it's not what we think it is either, right? Because the mind thinks everything's fixed, substantial. It's trying to protect, trying to control, trying to create. Instead, we develop this dance so we have clarity, compassion, courage to be in the dance together. Yeah, this is to me emptiness. Beneath the apparent preeminence of surface, life, my house, my job, my body is a state of pure beingness or isness. This primordial ground from which everything originates, as Lama Govinda, it's from Lama Govinda, from which everything originates. Where's it all coming from? Why is it all happening? Don't know. But I do know that I choose how I want to respond, right? Through mindfulness, through courage, through compassion. Pema Chodron refers to this emptiness as overlooked and ever-present aspect of human nature. And this is what she said. Shunyata refers to the fact that we actually have a seed of spaciousness, of freshness, openness, relaxation in us. We are the flexible one who dances. Of course, this is my experience, energetic experience, because I tend to speak through terms of energy, because that's how I experience reality, bear experience through energy. Thomas Merton says, the emptiness, which is pure being, is the light of God, which, as St. John's Gospel says, gives light to every man who comes into the world. So the less we add to our experience, the more we're able to be with it in this really raw, natural, flexible way. The more we're mindful with experience this raw, natural way, the more we experience this other part of our true nature, this spacious, loving, interconnected, interdependent energy that we share with all beings, right? Yeah, and people, anyhow. Thank you for your listening, for your energy. Thank you for co-creating this reality together. It's certainly mysterious, and it's almost pretty magical when we live in this way. And it can be rather painful to see what our fellow man co-creates. The only control I have, if there's an I, it's being this empty spacious self, and bringing the love that comes out of this space to each moment to the best of my ability. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.